Who's got the background noise on?
Ray.
That'll be me.
Come on, Ray. All right. So on Sunday we covered new rules and blindside block. I hope the blindside block clarified a lot of stuff for us. In WA, we were already looking for those things anyway, so it shouldn't have come as a new surprise to us. So tonight we're going to look at pass interference and just the basics of pass interference and what we should look for, and some videos that will open at least a discussion anyway. So when a video comes up, I might just choose one or two of you to make a comment, and then we'll move on. Good looking face there, Tom.
Thanks.
All right, so I'll just go to the PowerPoint. All right, so this is the iSpring stuff. Go to the start. Right, as we know, pass interference will cover offense and defense. We're not new to the game, so we know what we should be looking for. So this is just a revision of what we're doing. So pass interference, of course, there's a few things that does not make it pass interference. The big one we usually see is if the ball has been touched. A lot of people may scream if they get taken out, but if the ball is touched, we can't have pass interference. We can't have it if contact is immediately after the snap. If both players are playing the ball and if the ball is not catchable, we can't have pass interference. So I think the last one's important in this because the catchability is everything when it comes to pass interference. All right, so we'll go to offensive pass interference. Well, there's a few types. One is pushing off, which is the receiver pushing off the defender in order to get open. So the quarterback can win. The second one is driving through, or essentially pushing over a defender who is in your way. You've got to go, receivers have to go around. They can't go through defenders. A receiver that's blocking before the ball is thrown. The exception is obviously a screen pass or a pass behind the line of scrimmage. And a pick play, which is where receiver will come out and essentially pick off a defender who's trying to cover someone. So I have a couple of videos for offensive pass interference. Hold on a second. Yep. So I'll put on one video and we'll discuss if it's obvious or not. Hold on one moment, please. Where did you go? Technology, there we go. And I'll leave the sound on for this one.
He just made sure he wasn't going to overthrow it. First and goal. Touchdown here. And Syracuse can't just go into total coast mode. Penalty flags thrown all over the place. That may be against Sills.
A little bit of a pick play down there.
Yeah.
Pass interference, offense number 13. 15-yard penalty remains, first down.
By the way, it doesn't matter. How in the world did Allison not at least hit his man for a touchdown? He was 100% wide open.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered.
This is as blatant a pick play as you will see. Yeah. I mean, you had Sills watch the defender move and adjust.
All right. Does anyone think that was not pass interference?
Couldn't be any more clear, I think.
Nice, easy one to start the night. That's your classic, typical pick play. You can see the receiver came in to block a defender to get his teammate open. We saw that a little bit here in WA last year, or a rub, which is similar without the contact. We did pretty well last year to pick that up, so it's just something to keep in mind for this season. There's another OPI here too, which was controversial when it occurred. You may recognise the game. You may recognise the call. It was a college playoff game. Clemson.
Well, he tries to adjust. There's a push and shove back and forth. They feel that that's on Higgins. And grabs a hold. Higgins grabs a hold of the jersey first. He grabbed a hold to give himself momentum to try to work back to the ball, and I think that's what they caught it for. Clemson fans turn to boo. That takes.
All right, that one was controversial when it happened. It's a bit trickier. So maybe Paul, that was an offensive pass interference. What were your thoughts on that one?
I mean, initially it looked like maybe either way, but looking at it, the receiver engages with the cornerback essentially, and is with the ball being slightly underthrown, like prevents the cornerback from making his way to that spot where the ball was going to end up. So, I mean, I don't know whether I would have picked it in real time, but watching it at least, twice, it's like, oh, yeah, no, the receiver definitely impeded the cornerback's right to get to the ball.
Yeah, and if you saw the ref cam footage as well, you saw the receiver's outside hand pull the shoulder of the corner, and that got him separation to catch the ball.
Yeah,
that's the action. Tony. That's the action that I would have probably picked up on. Is you can see the receiver's arm go to the shoulder, pull the shoulder down at the corner, which gives him the separation and gives him the momentum to come back for the ball.
Yeah. The
I'm
other
going to
angle
jump in, and I'm going to say, just to be devil's advocate, I'm going to say I don't agree.
Yeah.
I mean, the cornerback engaged with the receiver, and he's engaging with him all the way down, and the receiver is also, there's a lot of hand fighting going on, which is fine if they're both engaging in it. But I'm not going to, then at the last second, because the last guy happened to, get a hold on the jersey or push off, or I'm going to say, nope, that's not interference. You engaged in it.
Agreed, CT. And on the other angle, you can see that the defender pulled the jersey of the receiver. But I think the key angle for that one is the ref cam. And the ref only saw the actions by the receiver, not by the corner.
Yeah.
So that footage is important for that one because we saw what he saw.
That would be the deep wing would have called that, wouldn't it, Tony? It'd be the deep wing on the side, which is why he saw the receiver action and not the corner action.
Correct.
And the back judge, I dare say, would have come over to it late because he would have had keys somewhere else on the field, so he would have
had a tight end or someone going down the field. Yeah. So it's there because it was a controversial call on the day, and the angles could go either way. But the ref cam is what we would see, and I saw him pulling the shoulder of the jersey to get separation. So based on that view alone, I can't fault the offensive pass interference. Bob?
Yep.
It's gone.
You there, Bob? You're not dead, are you? He'll be back. All right, we'll move on to DPI. I've got a few more videos for DPI.
You're frozen. Oh, now you're back.
Well, too late, Bob. We moved on. What have we got? This one. Right, so now we're going to DPI, which is the more common one we'll call. All right, so we don't call OPI if it's incidental contact, if it's an inadvertent tangling of the feet, and again, there's the key phrase, if the pass is uncatchable, if the pass is overthrown on a screen pass, and blocking downfield when it's an intentional grounding or legally grounded, I should say. So they're things more as a referee you should pick up upon. If you're not sure and you're a field official, if you're not sure, throw it, and then that should be the process the referee goes through with you anyway. All right. Our favourite. So pass interference must be conspicuous to be called. So we want something that's obvious, not anything that's tit for tat. And we go, and here's our criteria. Stationary play in a position who's displaced. So that's normally coming through the back or coming over the top, as you can see. And there we have our 6 criteria: not playing the ball, playing through the opponent, grabbing a receiver's arm, an armbar, which is essentially preventing an arm from coming up to catch the ball, cutting off the route, and a hook and turn, which is either placing the hand on the hip and turning the receiver, or as we'll see later, hand on the shoulder to turn the receiver. Okay, here's just an example of what they are. So not playing the ball. You can see that he's clearly playing the man, and he either gets there early, and the receiver doesn't have a chance to catch. Playing through, in this case, you can see he's coming through the back of the opponent, which is causing the opponent to not have a chance to catch the ball. And grabbing an arm, which if you grab a receiver's arm, you can't catch a pass. Going to the next ones. So an armbar is placing your arm across to impede. This is different to, say, a defensive back having his arm out to feel where the receiver is. He has to be impeding the ability to catch a pass. Cutting off is essentially cutting off the route or making contact with the receiver before the ball gets there. And the hook and turn is essentially grabbing or hooking the receiver and turning him so he can't catch the ball. All right, so we won't call it in these circumstances. So we have to know which players are playing the ball. We have to know if the pass is catchable again. We can't just have a pass going 5 yards over your head and you're calling a foul. Incidental contact again, tangling of feet again, and and touching receiver does not constitute impeding, as I gave before the example of the defender just feeling where the receiver is without actually impeding him. And on a Hail Mary pass, it must be clear and conspicuous. There's a lot of garbage goes on in a Hail Mary. If we throw a flag every Hail Mary, the game would drag on a long time.
Games will never finish.
Yeah. All right, so I have some videos for these ones. One does involve our boss, which is really good. So we'll start with the first one here. I wish I knew how to turn autoplay off. My video here.
Third and 10. Martinez throwing the fade, and it is incomplete. Flag down on Denard, who had coverage on Kenny Bell.
Oh, look at that.
First of all, it's the right call.
Hat.
You're taking your shot into the end zone, nothing in the middle of the field.
They showed a replay on the screen. Antonio could read his lips. That's not pass interference. How can you call
defense
that?
Number 31. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Menard's had a great day. 2 interceptions.
See him working one-on-one.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I don't see an interference. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's outstanding coverage. He's
Great
looking
coverage.
and leaning. They're playing the football, both of them.
First of all, we'll ignore the commentators. And then...
No way.
All right, we'll go Chris. I have that listed as an arm bar for DPI. What are your thoughts?
The arm was there, but how much was he actually interfering with him? I don't really know.
Yeah. Which impediment did you see or not see? One hand, both arms?
I saw the arm across, but I didn't see much impediment there. It's just more running with the guy, I would have thought.
Yeah. I saw it as the hand closer to the play was held down by the arm being across his chest. So he only had one hand to go for the ball because the other arm was impeded by an arm. That's what I saw. And that last replay shows that the receiver could only use one hand to catch it, which he would have tried to use 2 if he could.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, on reflection, that sounds about right.
Yep.
when I looked at it immediately, the replay, I thought, no, I was with the commentators. But now that you mention it, that he's only has one arm to catch it with, then yeah, 100% DPI.
Yeah, and it's not like the ball was overthrown and he could only use one hand to get to it.
Yeah,
it was
no,
quite
exactly.
well thrown. So that's just one example. You don't have to agree, but it's just knowing what may or may not be there, and then making your own decision on if it impeded him or not. So it's not here to say right or wrong. It's to say there's footage. Make your own decision about what you see. All right. So I'll show you.
Do you know who threw the flag? The back judge or the guy on the side?
I don't know. I would have thought it would be the deep wing.
Yeah, imagine he'd be right on top of it.
All right. So I got another one. I don't mean to cut conversation short, but we got 5 or 6 videos to try to look at for this one. So here's another one.
Kind of a fan favorite here with his physical style. Here they go, play action. Myers rolling, now throws on the run, downfield for Sharp. Trying to come back to it, and a flag is thrown. A couple flags are going to whistle the Rams here for the penalty. Nick Januska, the free safety and coverage.
You got to turn your head around. Great play call by Kent Myers to go ahead and take it deep. Allow your receiver to try to go up for the ball. The DB doesn't give the receiver the opportunity.
All right, Ray, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with what they saw. He didn't really turn to look at the ball and sort of played through the player, the receiver, so the receiver couldn't get to the ball.
Yeah, the receiver went to stop and come back to the ball. The defender just kept going through and stopped him from coming back. That's usually what we're likely to see at state leagues, because the passes are often underthrown, and you're more likely to see that cut off. Ray, what if the defender had turned his head and looked at the ball before contact?
Again, if he just keeps going and keeps driving that player out of position, then it's still impeding the player from getting back to the ball.
Yep.
Chances are, if he'd have seen the ball short thrown, he might have propped himself to try and get to the ball or to knock the ball down, and that could have changed the whole play. But if he kept going,
that's exactly right, Ray. If he had turned his head but kept running downfield, he would have still impeded the receiver. If he had turned and then made a play at the ball, then that would be two people reasonably competing for a ball, and that probably wouldn't have been pass interference.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll move on to the next one. I'll save that one for Bob because he loves that controversial play. And here's another, a bit subtle, but you'll see it better on replay. Sorry for the old footage. It was hard to find an example. All right, who haven't I asked? Pam, what do you see?
He had his hand on the outside of his shoulder and twisted him around.
Yeah, so like a...
So it'd be a hook and turn to me.
The hook and turn, yeah. Normally we'll give him quite a turn in to get him out of the way. But that example, you saw the opposite, where you drag the outside shoulder and turn him away from the ball. So that's, again, if you see hands up, you've got to actually make sure it impedes. That one was a clear impediment. For mine, or there's someone in the chat here. Who's that?
Marty's in the chat.
There you go. Perfect DPI. Thanks, Marty.
You're like 5 minutes late on that comment, mate.
All right. This will This is probably one everyone may have seen on the day. We'll go to our friends in the NFL and just to show that everyone can fuck up a simple DPI.
And the home team, Kansas City Chiefs.
It's a big down right now by this Rams defense. They convert, and there's a good chance the Saints are going to come away with more points on this possession. It's like they're going to try to bring some pressure. Right here, expect him.
That's Fowler off the edge. Breeze throws, a lot of contact, no flag. Nickel Roby-Coleman was there defending, and it was Ted Ginn, the target. And let's look at this again.
It definitely looked to me like a hold. It didn't look like he was allowing him to come out of the break. He wanted to try to work back toward.
All right. Mr. Fletcher, what do you think?
No, that's Scott Hood, I think.
No, Mr. Hood? Mr. Hood, what do you think? Ignore Mr. Hood. Courtney, what do you think?
It was kind of glitchy for me. I don't know if it's my internet, but I'm thinking that you would call that as a cut-off, but it was definitely DPI.
Well, he sort of grabbed him on the turn.
Okay,
and he didn't let him go. Didn't let him go into his route.
Yeah.
Martin, what are your thoughts? He hasn't got volume. Bob, your thoughts?
He definitely grabbed him, wrapped him. He impeded him from going where he wanted to go. That was pretty obvious.
Yeah, and that's what you will see from linebackers, especially if they're a bit slower. We call it the Chris Tracy technique, where you're slow and you just grab whatever comes past you.
He was telling you his son is 2 years old now.
You got to work on your speed, Chris. And Bob, this one's just for you, and I want your analysis of this one.
Okay.
Because you may or may not have a personal connection to this one.
If it's in the same game.
Oh, it may or may not be, Bob.
I thought that's what you got to show first, Tony.
Yeah, me too.
Quick snap. Breeze. Pass is incomplete. No flag for Tommy Lee Lewis. Nickel Roby-Coleman delivered a hit. And the two officials talk to each other. Crowd's going crazy as there's no flag right on the Saints sideline.
Well, if Nickel Roby-Coleman plays the ball, it's an interception. It's probably going the other way with it. I mean, the ball's on the other side of Roby-Coleman, but that should have been a penalty.
Bob, should that have been a penalty?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. The primary receiver, the primary official who was supposed to be watching that particular receiver was the line official. That was his primary responsibility, and what he was looking at, I have no idea. And Gary had no idea either. Gary's primary guy was in the backfield, had cut about 5 yards downfield and went left, running a parallel pattern to the line of scrimmage, and actually made contact or was contacted by the linebacker, and you could have almost had something happening there, and that Gary was watching that. But that was such an easy call that it just was missed. Even the best.
And who's Gary, Bob?
Gary Cavaletto, number 60.
It's one of your proteges?
Yes, sir.
You taught him everything he knows.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he ran up. He said, once the pass was thrown, by the time he'd shifted his gaze, because he had action by the linebacker and the halfback that went across the field, and then he looked over and the contact had been made, and he thought, gee, that looked kind of false, bad, and so he ran up. Here comes the Saints coach screaming, and you see Gary saying, "Get the hell back there! Get back there!" And the Saints coach turns around and runs back, and then he goes up to the line referee and says, "What? Bang bang? Was that bang bang?" And the line referee said, "Yes."
So I think that's a good example. We're obviously not high-level officials. We're not NFL officials or college officials, where if you see something and that you're not the covering official, but you think you saw your pass interference, that's when I would like you to throw your flag. And the covering official, if they didn't see it, then you have the call. And that was a big play. And we're working with officials that may only have a handful of games under their belt, and they may not like to throw those flags, or they may not know the rule. Especially when we're learning and developing new officials, throw your flag, have a chat to them, and if you're sure you saw it, we don't want to miss it. If it's not in your zone, still throw it. This is what learning is all about. And for a new official, if you thought you saw something that doesn't look right, throw your flag. I mean, it's at least worth a 30-second discussion. And if you pick it up, we pick it up. But if you miss it, then we lose a first down, we lose 15 yards, and it could cost someone. Well, they would have won the Super Bowl if they had won that game. So potentially there are bigger things at stake just for one missed call. So
it's easier to pick up a flag and wave it off than to throw a flag 15, 20 seconds late.
Yeah.
There's only a couple.
And that's
only a couple circumstances where you throw a late flag.
And that play too, where the defender's getting there early, you see that a lot across the middle when receivers are running crossing routes, and linebackers will, try to make contact when the ball's in the air. Different if they just absolutely level them this year, because that will be a blindside block if linebackers are picking off receivers coming across the middle. But that's typically, you'll see that a lot inside, or especially when the defender has their back to where the ball is coming from. So it's all about head positioning. If the defender can't see the ball, chances are they're either going to get burnt and burnt big, or they're going to give away some form of foul.
And can I go on? I was just going to say, with the picking up of the flag, you mean realistically, how often have we done that in any given season? Maybe 10 times where we've picked up a flag and waved it off. There's no fear from the coaches of, oh man, you can't make up your mind or any shit like that. They're very understanding, I reckon, for the most part.
Yeah. Yes. If we throw up a bad flag, it shows that we maintain our integrity for saying, you know what, we did mess this up and that was wrong, and we'll own up to it on the spot. So we're maintaining our integrity and our belief that our call is a good one. So when we do throw a call, coaches will go, well, they pick up the bad ones, so this must be a good one. All right. So that's my little half-hour crash course into pass interference. Does anyone have any comments to cover anything that I haven't covered off on, Greg?
I know that's been pretty well covered, Tony.
Yeah.
Covered off on the main point, which is always good.
Yeah.
I do.
Sorry.
Always just stressing that there has to be an advantage gained or some big impediment. It's got to be pretty obvious for us to call it, because you're always going to have contact.
Yeah, and I've always been taught too that if it's going to show up on film, that's when you call them. If you can't really see it on film and it's a 50-50, I mean, just let it go. The ones that are going to show up clearly on film, and you can look at it and go, yep, that's a clear pass interference. Let's throw up for those.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that you're never knocked down by missing a foul, but you are downgraded immensely if you call a foul that isn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom?
I can't emphasize enough how important as officials it is to understand with this foul that the pass must be catchable.
Yes.
Okay? Because we're a very amateur league. We've got very average quarterbacks and we've got very average receivers. So generally speaking. So there's probably, I'm going back 4 or 5 seasons where there were a lot of pass interference calls made. And I don't think the question was asked often enough about was the pass catchable. So just that point to remember as a white hat.
Official, if you're on that crew, if you're the referee or not, I mean, if you get, I'd say this all the time, if you throw a flag of pass interference and I ask you, are you sure it was catchable? It's not questioning whether I think it was or wasn't. It's just asking you, well, are you sure?
Yeah.
Because you might go, well, actually, I'm not sure. Because if you ask, was that catchable? You go, yeah, of course it was. We go, but are you sure? Oh, well, actually, I don't think I am sure. So, you know, if you get asked a question by a more experienced official, it's not to question your call. It's to just make you process that in your head is, well, yes, I am sure. Especially if it's not a strong flag. If you throw a flag and you're sort of a bit hesitant when you come in to talk about it, it's not good body language. And that, to me, would show you may not be happy with the call you've just made. All right, so that's my pass interference session. As I said, it's nice, basic, short, sharp. If we get the basic rights, everything else comes with it. And if we all get the basics as a crew and as a league, in this case, New South Wales and WA, we just become better as a group. And if we become better, players and coaches should respect us more, and they should work to our standards. We don't work to theirs. And
invariably, they'll become better too. The better that we become, the better they'll become as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. We've actually noticed that here in WA. We the coaches and the players have changed a lot, improved a lot.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll stop the recording now on that one. We can obviously continue our discussion, but I need to at least record what we've done.